excited about this. We are going to take you live inside of Cafe Hollander in Tosa Village, which of course is in downtown Wauwatosa. Now, as you might know or be familiar with if you've watched our newscasts over the last month or so, this was a restaurant, one of the many businesses, that was so badly devastated by that historic flooding that we saw last month in August. It was on August 10th, you might recall, that we saw historic amounts of rain really all over southeast Wisconsin. And it caused a lot of issues, not just for homeowners, but of course for businesses as well. If you're familiar with Cafe Hollander, you know that they are very close to the river in downtown Tosa. So what happened is that when the river spread, it flooded the basement of Cafe Hollander. And this was a big problem for them because that's where their kitchen is. So that's really the heart of their operation is in that basement kitchen. So as a result, they had to pivot a little bit. They moved a lot of their operations next door to Buckataubin. That's their kind of sister restaurant. It's a supper club also in Tosa Village. They sort of expanded their hours and they made it so people could, or employees there, I should say, wouldn't lose out on any hours while Hollander was closed in Tosa. So really kind of a lovely solution to a really challenging problem. Talking to my producer here, Delaney, you said that they're ready to go. Is that right? Beautiful. Okay, well now we are going to head over to Cafe Hollander. Again, this is in downtown Tosa, where we are going to get a feel for their new space and kind of talk to them about how they really took this as an opportunity to refresh, kind of come back, take a fresh start, and move forward as a business. Okay, so let's see if we got them here. Okay, beautiful. We have Cafe Hollander joining us now live. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hello.
Hi, yes. Thank you so much for joining us live. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us about your relationship to the Lowlands Group.
Sure. I'm Ileana Rivera, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer. I've worked for Lowlands for 17 years, and I actually opened this lovely location.
Oh my gosh, so you're a part of the Lowlands family, been so for years.
I'm definitely part of it.
You sure are. First and foremost, I wanted to talk to you. You know, over the last month, I can imagine, was really challenging for this business and for your entire restaurant group for a host of reasons. What were the silver linings in all of this?
Community, our staff, our management team. During times of crises, I feel like we always gather together. We rebuild, we support, and nothing showed more true than during this period of time. And I think we always have to be grateful for that.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful perspective, right? It just kind of makes you love your customers even more to see them come out and support you and miss you. And of course, they're ready to welcome you back open into the community starting tomorrow, right? Tell me about what you have planned for the big opening day tomorrow.
Well, we're super excited, and I'll let you in on a little secret. We might be doing a little bit of a soft opening tonight at 5 o'clock, but the party starts tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We are calling it the Tosa Grand Reopening, and we plan to have all the bells and whistles just available, from live music to a live cheers toast at 6 p.m. Any customer who's here is getting a free high pills on us, and we're going to do a big cheers to welcome us back into the community, welcome our Tosa guests, hopefully more than just that, all of you, anyone who would like to come in. And then we're going to do some fun stuff. The first 50 guests coming in at 4 p.m. Will get a free little prize. And then we have some really cool, fun little things that we're doing as well. We have this awesome little scratch off where there's prizes that range from free brunch for a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
To, you know, some fun facts, Lowlands Brewing beers, to some merchandise like hats. And then we will have a little fun display of golden goblets throughout the restaurant. If you find them, you get a free Lowlands Brewing Collaborative beer as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
And lastly, just to go on to that silver lining piece as well, we are a community in Tosa, and that means we support each other. Largely, the way before we were opening, we were trying to figure out ways to also give back. Yeah, I know, we had our own stuff happening, but so did other places. So we decided to partner up with Milwaukee Repertory, who has all of their storage in Wauwatosa and had over $7.5 million in damage.
Wow.
We figured, what could we do to give back for next week, for a full week starting on Friday. Every Bloody Mary that you purchase and every Lowlands Brewing Collaborative beer that you also purchase, $1 will go back to the Milwaukee Repertory to help them also rebuild. We just want to make an impact, however small or big that we can.
That's so wonderful of you, and if people have been to your restaurant, they know you've quite an extensive menu there of Bloody Marys, so I'm sure you're going to be raising all kinds of money with that. Now, if you don't mind, if it's feasible, can you kind of show us around some of the changes that you all have made, some of the renovations, some of which I understand were, oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so most of it takes place downstairs. You'll find some Easter eggs with the flooring down that we have up here, repolished, renewed, new bar, fun wallpaper with Easter eggs in the bathrooms. But most of the largest part of what we did had to be in the kitchen, right? If you have access to photos, you'll see that we had over 4 feet of damage, which meant as we look at the stairwell, all of this was underwater. We had to get brand new equipment. So every part of what you're seeing here is new. Wow. And so drywall, new fridge, new coolers, every aspect of here is new. And while we had to do this, again, we've been around for 16 years. What we thought to ourselves is, how can we be more efficient? How can we make sure the line works better? How can we make sure that we service the customer to the best of our ability? And that was by getting new equipment, possibly more efficient, larger, and take advantage of this closure to really think about what we needed to do.
I mean, it looks amazing, and it's just, you talk about the amount of water you had. Can you, I don't know if you were, I'm assuming you stopped in during that weekend, but can you tell our listeners and our viewers at home just the reaction, just how you guys felt when you walked down those stairs and you saw your kitchen was flooded? I mean, this is the heartbeat of your operation.
Well, first of all, you couldn't walk down here, right? We had up to 4 feet of water, which meant it was right below this line right here. So it just barely didn't touch this electrical unit, which actually came to our advantage because originally we thought we were going to have over $1 million worth of damage, and it ended up being from $500,000 to $600,000 when all is said and done. So all Sunday, August 10th, we weren't able to come in here. It wasn't until Monday that we actually had the ability to walk through these doors, come in here and assess what the damage was. The basement is our heart. It's got our music. It's got all of our electrical. It's got our office. The basement and the kitchen is always the heart. But when you have it in the basement next to a roaring river, we really, everything had to be replaced. Everything had to be redone. And so what we assessed was the fact that nothing could stay, no food could stay. Most of our stuff had to be replaced.
And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, Ileana, because obviously in a restaurant, you want your customers to know going in that they're getting a product that's safe, that's healthy, that is clean. Can you talk about just how big of a priority this is for your entire group to make sure that your customers have a safe experience?
I mean, it's such a priority that even if something was wrapped or packaged, it was thrown out. We did not keep anything. It had to go. We had to ensure that we started from scratch. So any bowls, anything that we thought, so all food gone, all like dry goods gone. That whole area was underwater anyway, and everything was thrown. So it was easy for us because we have to think about the safety of our guests, but also people who know stuff about food, bacteria grows, whether you think it does or doesn't. So it went, and like I said, it gave us an opportunity to start from scratch and become more efficient down here.
Which is so wonderful that you really kind of viewed it as an opportunity to, to pivot, to grow, to become even better. It just kind of shows the spirit of Lowlands Group and of Cafe Hollander. Because I feel like a lot of restaurants, I could see a scenario where they would just throw in the towel.
I mean, look, our staff is the best. We ended up having to place 75 of our employees at different locations, and that's never easy. It's never easy when it comes to servers and trying to get them to spots, to chefs, to cooks, and everyone welcomed the team members with open hands. And really, truly, gave them a place to stay for 7 weeks. Our community of Lowlands is extremely close. And we're so proud of all of the hard work that we all did. And again, what our vendors did, the well wishes that occurred, people reaching and extending any type of help was super big. And we couldn't be happier to be a part of the Tosa Village community.
Oh my gosh, I can even imagine how proud you must be, coming back stronger, better than ever. I know during this time that you guys were on a break, I've always wanted to go to your Buckatavan restaurant, Ileana, and it was hard to get a reservation on weekend nights when I'm free. So I know you guys opened up for brunch, and I went there actually with our sports anchor, Lily Zhao, and we had such a great experience. So I think that was really neat too, to maybe get some of your regular customers into one of your news, or not a new space, but into a different space, your sister restaurant, Buckatavan.
Without a doubt, don't sleep on Buckatavan. We do an amazing brunch and we do it differently. So you have two aspects of what you can do. You have two brunches, and I always say, make sure you go there and you make sure you go to Hollander, because they're both pretty amazing and really different. And I'm proud of both of them.
And of course, just the amazingness of your restaurant, of your business, the way you've rebounded and not only, survived the flooding, but really seems to be thriving in it, is just a testament to that. So Ileana Rivera, thank you so much for joining us. One more time for our viewers at home, when can they celebrate you all tonight and tomorrow?
Oh my gosh, so secretly you guys can come in at 5, do a little sip and stroll in the Tosa Village, and you can stop by and get some food and cocktails starting at 5. And then tomorrow the party starts at 4 o'clock. Walk through the door, stay, have drinks. We do a cheers at 6 p.m. and then the music starts at 6:30. Hope to see you there.
We will be there. Ileana Rivera from the Lowlands Group, thank you so much for joining us live on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Congratulations to you, truly. You all have recovered just so beautifully from this. The kitchen, your space, all looks perfect, better than ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so you were just taking a tour here of the brand new and improved, or I should say new and improved, Cafe Hollander in Tosa Village. Hit so hard by that devastating flooding last month. And as you can see, they cleaned the place up beautifully. It looks perfect, and they are ready to welcome guests kind of unofficially tonight, but officially tomorrow, just in time for a gorgeous weekend in Milwaukee and Tosa in southeast Wisconsin. Okay, so we're going to check in with our fabulous reporter, Christina Van Zelst, after we take a short break. But for now, I'm going to give us a little breather here. We'll be back in 2 minutes. I'll see you soon. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties here trying to start this ad break, getting that swirly thinking. I think that'd be good, Delaney. Thank you so much. Okay, so I guess we kind of took our own break there. So apologies about that. Okay, so now we're going to head to the newsroom and talk to our Christina Van Zelst, who's going to fill us in on the story that she is working on today for our evening newscast. Hey, Christina, how are you? Okay, I'm so sorry, Christina. Your mic wasn't up. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi. Okay, so tell us, what are you working on for our evening newscast this evening?
Yeah. So unfortunately, this is a very sad story out of Sheboygan Falls. We are following up on the fatal shooting that happened there yesterday. A 32-year-old Mike Robinson is the victim in this case. That's what family says is the person who was killed. I want to take you back just to what we know so far happened there. Police yesterday told us that there was a shooting just after midnight. If you're not familiar with downtown Sheboygan Falls, this is right in the heart of their town, and police say that this was a drive-by shooting. They also don't believe that the victim and shooter knew each other, and family has since identified that victim as 32-year-old Mike Robinson. They say that he was here in town for a golf tournament at Whistling Straits in Sheboygan and actually hit a hole-in-one that day, and he was out with friends and family celebrating and just enjoying the day, and unfortunately lost his life to a shooting that police are calling a drive-by. And Nicola, one thing that we don't know at this time is who the shooter was. We know yesterday police were looking for a small, dark-colored SUV, and that is about all the information they are telling us at this point. We don't know what led up to that shooting, but one thing we do have that's new today is we spoke with family of that victim who is traveling into town. They're from Canada, and we Zoomed with them while they were at the airport, just sharing how they're remembering their loved one, Mike. We talked with his brother, and they're coming here to Sheboygan Falls in search of answers. They want to see where this happened and just want justice for their brother. He also just had a baby 5 weeks ago, and their younger sister was actually planning on getting married next weekend. Now that wedding is canceled and will instead be his funeral. So just a heartbreaking interview with the family members coming into town from Canada. We will have more on that and what they had to say about this whole situation, but they say this is really hard to process because it seems random, is what they're calling it, and just really don't have a lot of answers at this time.
Yeah, Christina, this story is just so devastating too, because not only is it just so random, but I think it's really sending shockwaves around the Sheboygan Falls community, because you know, you've worked in this market for some time now. I mean, Sheboygan Falls is typically a pretty safe area. You know, people wouldn't think twice about traveling there to take a golf trip. They're world renowned for their golf experience and for their kind of tourism, especially with Kohler and the American Club there. This has to be kind of troubling for authorities as well, that they're investigating something like this.
Yeah, and this is actually not the first shooting that I've covered there in the last couple of months, and that's something people we talked to yesterday brought up. There was another shooting in June that left 2 people injured in Sheboygan Falls, and people who live there say this is alarming, just knowing that there has been somewhat of an increase, or at least that one shooting, now this one happening in a couple months apart. But as you mentioned, Nicola, it's not an area that's typically, it's a small town, and when we were there yesterday, that's just something that people were talking about, is how this is alarming, and it does seem like it was random. We've been in contact with police following up with what they can share, and they said all of their updates will be posted on Facebook. So again, that's also why the family wants to be here, so that they can be here in person and just see where this all happened. Again, they're from Canada. Some of them live in other states in the U.S. as well, but just want to be here, and they also want to be here to bring home their loved one. They're planning on bringing him to Canada when this is all wrapped up.
Yeah, this is just absolutely devastating. Christina, thank you so much for your work in telling this man's story, you know, who he was, such a loved member of his family. It's really, everything about this is just completely heartbreaking. So we'll be thinking of him and his family, and also hoping that investigators can find some answers. Christina Van Zelst, live in our newsroom now. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to your reports this evening in what newscast do you know?
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. We'll have all of this on.
All right, she's in every show. All right, thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we just got an update there from our Christina Van Zelst. She's working very hard on a story up in Sheboygan Falls, talking to the family of a young man, 32 years old, who was killed in an apparent drive-by shooting. He was here on a golf trip with his family from Canada. You know, folks who know Sheboygan Falls know that it is a renowned golf community. It's typically very safe. People don't really, think twice about going to a place like that. So this is really just shocking for not just, of course, this family, but also in a way for law enforcement and the people who live in Sheboygan Falls. Nobody knows, who did this or why they would do something like this. Not like there ever is a reason or an excuse for this kind of behavior, this kind of crime. It's just devastating to learn some of the details that Christina has about, his family, the fact that they were supposed to have a family wedding next weekend. And now, of course, that is going to be a funeral as they work to lay Giovanni, who went by Michael, to rest. So, okay, I'm going to try once again to take a commercial break here. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it works. And I hope to see you on the other side of this short 2-minute break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back, everybody. Now that we've got to check out some of your local, more Wisconsin news with Cafe Hollander reopening here-ish this evening, but definitely tomorrow for their celebration beginning at 4 p.m. Of course, Cafe Hollander was deeply impacted by severe flooding that struck our community last month. So this is quite the milestone for them now that they have recovered from that ordeal. We also talked to our Christina Van Zelst as she's walking us through a story that she's working on today, a devastating story out of Sheboygan Falls of a 32-year-old man from Canada, a golfer who was in the area on a golf trip with his family, and he was shot in what police are calling a drive-by shooting. There's no information yet on who the suspect could be, what their motivation was. So this is just a really scary thing, not just for this family, but of course for the entire Sheboygan Falls community. Now that we've looked at our local news, let's send it out to some national news. How does that sound? We're going to take a check-in of the United Nations right now and just listen into what's going on there.
Building activities supported by UNIMIS, the United Nations mission in South Sudan, among others. The security sector reform is progressing well. In phase 1, the first batch of unified forces are already trained, as mentioned earlier. The second phase is ongoing. At the same level, the governments at state levels are disarming civilians to bolster security. The aim is to have one national army under one commander-in-chief, contrary to the current state of affairs where the country has several commanders-in-chief, in which in itself is a source of insecurity.
I'm so sorry. In case you were wondering, who is speaking right now with the United Nations General Debate of the 80th session. Right now we have Her Excellency Josephine Joseph Lagoo of South Sudan. She is speaking right now at the podium. Let's continue to listen in.
Defense Forces in Nasir, which led to his detention and the detention of the co-accused. This matter is now being handled legally, and it will take due process with assurance of a fair trial in a competent court. The government is committed to following due process to achieve justice in this matter. It should be noted that the arrest of the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, and his co-accused was not politically motivated, but had endangered the peace process and constitutional order in the country. Notwithstanding the legal proceedings, Dr. Riek Machar and others have been formally charged and presented to court. Their legal rights have been respected, including granting access to their legal team, and they appear on their behalf in court. South Sudan remains open to meaningful dialogue with other holdout groups. In this regard, the government is considering resumption of the Tumaini Peace Initiative and welcomes facilitation from regional and other partners. We urge regional and international communities to urge the holdout groups to renounce armed violence and engage in political dialogue. Furthermore, we appeal to the international community to continue supporting South Sudan's efforts and democratic process through provision of technical assistance, capacity building, and development support. It is worth mentioning that consolidating peace in South Sudan is not only vital for our people, but also for stability across the Horn of Africa, the Great Lakes, and beyond. Since our last statement to this General Assembly, South Sudan has embarked upon a transformative journey. We have launched the South Sudan Development Plan 2026 to 2036, a forward-looking 10-year blueprint to diversify our economy, fortify our institutions, and reduce reliance on oil. This plan is anchored in the principles of transparency, inclusivity, and resilience. It guides comprehensive reforms in public financial management and service delivery. We have initiated independent audits, strengthened procurement oversights, and recommitted ourselves to the fiscal reforms outlined in the 2018 Revitalized Peace Agreement. We are determined to foster a culture of integrity, accountability, and good governance. Determined to shift from oil dependency to a green, sustainable economy, South Sudan is investing in the future of its land and people. The Agriculture SME Grant Initiative 2025 now empowers farmers, agro-processors with vital tools, training, and market access. Our investment in irrigation, seed distribution, and post-harvest technologies are boosting productivity and strengthening food security. We have successfully established effective governance structures both at the national and local level, including establishment of relevant commissions such as the Constitutional Review Commission, the Judicial Review Commission.
General Assembly, hearing now from representatives from Sudan. This is the general debate of the 80th session. It started on Tuesday, and then it'll continue through Monday. That will be the last day. The theme for the general debate this year is Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development, and human rights. There's been several speakers who have taken to the podium over the last several days, including, of course, President Donald Trump, and several more are on the agenda for this afternoon. Okay, so now let's talk about leaders maybe closer to home. How does that sound? Let's talk about what's going on with the Wisconsin gubernatorial race. It seems to be a race that just keeps getting more crowded with candidates really on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. There was a new announcement this morning. I think we've got some full screens that we can show you here. Brett Hulsey, he's the former Wisconsin Democrat state representative, Brett Hulsey. He is now running for Wisconsin governor as well. He previously served in the Wisconsin State Assembly from 2011 to 2015. And he joins, yes, this growing number of Democrats. Right now there are 6 candidates vying for the primary seat for Democrat. As you can see on your screen there, we have Francesca Hong, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, Ryan Sternad, Sarah Rodriguez. She's the lieutenant governor right now, as well as Kelder Royce. So it seems like these announcements just kind of keep coming day by day. In 2014, we know he did not seek re-election for his assembly seat. He ran for governor that year and lost. So this is his second go at governor. I think we have a full screen too showing you the Republican candidates that are in the race, if we can pull that up. Okay, so right now it's a little bit more of a narrow field of candidates. We have Bill Berrien. He's a businessman from Whitefish Bay. We have Josh Schoeman, and then we have Tom Tiffany. Tom Tiffany, I should mention, is the latest candidate to enter on the Republican side of things. That announcement, I believe, came in yesterday. Our Jason Calvi sat down with him one-on-one to kind of get a feel for where he stands on the issues. He was saying, I'll preserve our Wisconsin values just like my mom does with her pickles. So he said, Madison politics may smell like the barn, but I know how to clean up the bowl. I will roll up my sleeves and deliver results for every Wisconsinite. That was in a campaign video that he released. He claims that he will freeze property taxes, protect farmland, and preserve Wisconsin values, as we just mentioned here. Tiffany began serving in the U.S. House of Representatives in May of 2020 after winning a special election that month to fill the House seat that was vacated in 2019 by Republican Sean Duffy. Duffy is now serving, of course, as Secretary for the U.S. Department of Transportation. So that is an update there on our local politics. Let's try again, if we can, to take another short break. We'll regroup here, and I will see you on the other side of it.
because throughout the year, they've been firing civil servants who are hardworking American taxpayers. We will not be intimidated by these threats coming from the most extreme parts of the Trump administration.
Mr. Leader, I understand that you are not going to be intimidated by the Trump administration, but there are federal workers who don't want to get caught up in a political fight here. What would you say to federal workers that are just worried about losing their jobs?
Donald Trump and the administration have been engaging in mass.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, everybody. My name is Nicola Junowitz, jumping in here for the second part of our hour together. Now I think we're going to head on down to our nation's capital. We're going to hear from U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, of course, a Democrat representing the state of New York. He has been very outspoken in terms of President Donald Trump's budget, essentially the impact that it could have if the two sides do not reach an agreement when it comes to federal workers. What will happen to those positions that would be impacted or would be cut if this measure were to pass? So let's listen in now to Representative Hakeem Jeffries.
Of the American people. They want to destroy it. Republicans have spent the entire year destroying the health care of the American people. Our position is clear. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care. Not too complicated to understand. The spending bill that was defeated in the Senate is dead on arrival. It doesn't have Democratic support. And so it's unclear to me why Republicans have fled Washington, D.C., why House Republicans have decided to cancel votes next Monday and Tuesday on the eve of government funding running out, and why Donald Trump agreed to a meeting in the White House to try to get to a resolution in a bipartisan way, and then pulled the plug on the meeting with an unhinged statement that he issued on social media. Something is really wrong with these folks. Like, we are here. I'm here, Washington, D.C., not hard to find. This is a district work period. We're ready, willing, and able to have a conversation to see if we can find common ground in a bipartisan way to reach a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people. Republicans have decided they don't want to even have a conversation with Democrats to reach a bipartisan agreement. No one in America thinks that's reasonable. It's an inherently unreasonable position. My way or the highway. And they think that what? We're supposed to, as Democrats, abandon our fight to protect the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people when all Republicans have done this year is break promises? Donald Trump promised to lower costs. On day one, costs aren't going down in America, they're going up. Inflation is going up. Life has become more expensive under Donald Trump and Republican policies. And that includes health care premiums, which are about to skyrocket because of Republican policies and their decision to continue to gut the health care of the American people. We find that unacceptable.
Okay, guys, so I kind of want to fill you in on what you're listening to here. So this is Democratic U.S. Representative Hakeem Jeffries speaking to members of the media about this ongoing budget battle that is going on in our nation's capital. A government shutdown, or I should say a partial government shutdown, is looming if these two sides can't come into some sort of an agreement by October 1st. So Representative Jeffries has been particularly concerned about how this would impact the federal workforce. This is coming after the White House Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, is now telling federal agencies to draw up a RIF plan, that means reduction in force plan, ahead of that possible government shutdown. This is according to an internal memo that was obtained by Fox News. The guidance says that agencies must consider issuing RIF notices to employees working on programs that are not legally required to continue if there's a lapse in the funding. So This, of course, is creating some upset by Democratic lawmakers.
Attack on women, infants, and children.
They're nowhere near, I should say, an agreement on this. We're talking about, $1 trillion in potential new spending that could put
So if they're continuing
a deal
related
at risk here.
legislation
So let's
that
listen
they
back
passed in the
into
House,
U.S. Representative Hakeem
how is
Jeffries.
that clean? It's not clean. It's dirty. It's not bipartisan. It's partisan. And their underlying appropriations bills, including as it relates to health care, in this appropriations process right now, represented an attack on public health infrastructure, an attack on the Centers for Disease Control, an attack on the National Institute of Health, and an attack on vaccine availability. Republicans are up to their same dirty tricks as it relates to attacking and assaulting the health care of the American people, and we're not going to let the American people be fooled with this track record that they have, that they want to have a good faith conversation about health care, and we should trust them. That would be foolish on our part.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. And President Trump's Truth Social post canceling the meeting, he accused Democrats of making demands that would allow that because you want to promote gender-affirming care for transgender Americans, the Medicaid cuts that you're looking to repeal from the reconciliation law to advance health care for undocumented immigrants. Are you concerned? These are some of the issues that Democrats struggled with in the 2024 election, communicating your position to the American people. Are you concerned or confident in this showdown that Democrats will be able to communicate a message that really focuses on what you're fighting for and not what the president wants to make the debate about?
Let me be clear to the American people. Donald Trump and Republicans are lying. Federal law currently prohibits health care funds being used for undocumented immigrants, period, full stop. And no one is asking for that law to be repealed. This shows you how
Hey, you are
desperate
listening
they are.
now to a press conference from New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries on a possible government shutdown that could be coming as soon as next week on Wednesday. That is October 1st. Democrats and Republicans having a really hard time here reaching across the aisle to come to some sort of resolution in all of this. Republicans feel like Democrats just want to spend too much. They're concerned about cuts to the federal government in terms of workers and also the Affordable Care Act. So now we're going to take another quick break here, and I will see you in about 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Now we are going to check in with your local weather, and who better to talk about that than one of our weather experts, Stephanie Barrichello. She is joining us now with a look at what we can expect here for not only the rest of the day, Steph, but well into the weekend.
Doesn't it? I think I'm just one day ahead. I thought yesterday was Thursday. I think today is Friday. So I've been focusing in a lot on the weekend. I think that's okay though, because we're so close and the weather's going to be so gorgeous. We are clearly in the sweet spot, Nicola, right now. We have a high pressure system pretty much covering the bulk of central portions of the U.S., including the Great Lakes region. All that mess that we dealt with at times pretty much since last weekend, those periodic rain chances, those slow moving storm systems are now out east. So if you're maybe traveling out east for the weekend, that's a different story. Here will be great. Out east, it's still going to be a little stormy. And look at this. I mean, it's from New England states down to Florida, all the way through the Gulf Coast. Looks like Texas may be missing out on some of that now, but yesterday it was a little stormy, even in portions of Louisiana and Texas. And then you look out west, looking pretty good. Now zooming in on Wisconsin, our home. It's gorgeous all across the area. Now if you are near Lake Michigan, particularly in the Milwaukee area and southeastern portions of the state, we still have some cloud cover that's kind of moved in from Lake Michigan. It'll clear right out later on this afternoon and evening, and it's going to be the start to a pretty clear and sunny stretch over the next couple of days. I mean, we can go through this model here. This is our exclusive Fox model, by the way, for Thursday and Friday and the weekend, and you'll notice it really doesn't show much. I will say though, there is a cold front across the Dakotas right now. That's going to swing through tomorrow afternoon. It may bring in just a few clouds. Otherwise, it's going to be a dry front, no rain or anything like that. It's going to provide a lake breeze in the afternoon. So we'll warm pretty quickly through about midday tomorrow. Then I do think we cool starting in lakeshore communities, then inland. So just a little drop in temperatures for the second half of Friday. Some morning fog on Saturday, and then you'll notice we're back to full sunshine, and that's all across the state. If you're looking for an excuse to get up north, maybe hang at your cabin, maybe one last time for the season, it's looking really beautiful. Now when it comes to temperatures, this is for today. You'll notice how a lot of spots are pretty normal for this time of year in the 70s, but the heat is building already towards the west. As we see this series of high pressure systems in our area all the way through next week, essentially, it is going to bring in some warmer temperatures too, really right in time for the weekend. So today we're going to hang out in these low 70s, around 70 for lakeshore communities, middle and upper 70s then for Friday, but then we'll drop throughout the afternoon and right on schedule for the weekend, beautiful 80s expected. And I will preface this by saying, yes, 80 is warm for this time of year, but we're still going to have our cool mornings and our cool evenings because we'll have our clear sky. You know, with the lack of cloud cover during our overnight hours, temperatures still drop pretty significantly. So it's going to be that typical fall-like weather, you know, kind of pesky because you might need to layer up in the morning and then do the tank top in the afternoon. But it's so beautiful for this time of year. We start to drop a bit more by Tuesday of next week as that lake breeze kicks back in, but you'll notice, I mean, this is telling us how above average these temperatures are. So even as temps drop a little bit Tuesday, it's still going to be 5-6 degrees above average. And then dew points are still looking comfortable. So it's kind of the best of both worlds here. Yes, we're getting a little bit of a warm up, but dew points will still be comfortable, unlike what we experienced. What was that? Just this past weekend and last week, those temperatures were so warm, but it was so humid still. So I can't stress enough, we're heading into a gorgeous stretch of weather, and it looks to linger. So you might need to do some watering if you still have your garden going for this time of year.
Oh, Steph, I feel like, I don't know about you, I prefer this weather to summer weather. Do you remember this summer was so hot and muggy? This just feels like you can actually do stuff outside.
I know, and 80 in the fall is so different from 80 in the summer, because 80 during the summer, that's your entire afternoon. 80 in the fall is maybe 2 hours of your day. You know,
That's
it's
so
just
true.
so nice this time of year.
It really is. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Steph, for bringing the sunshine, the warm temperatures, and all of the good news on this Thursday.
No
Weekend
problem.
looking perfect.
Enjoy.
All right, we sure will, Steph. Thank you so much. All right, well, now that we got a check of your weather so you know what to expect, you can make all of your fun weekend plans. Rob said this morning, if you do not have plans for this weekend, well, you should go and make some because it's going to be great. So, okay, let's take now another quick break here if we can, and I will see you on the other side of it in exactly 2 minutes.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are checking in now with a story that broke yesterday morning during Wake Up, a shooting that happened at a Dallas ICE facility that left one person dead and 2 others injured. The gunman, we know, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. You're going to take a live look right here into a press conference that's set to begin here any minute. We're expecting an update from the FBI on what they're learning about this case. So far, here's what we know. The suspected gunman is Joshua John. He's 29 years old. He apparently showed a high degree of pre-attack planning, and that included scouting facilities and also writing threats. Security is now being increased at ICE facilities nationwide, and the 2 surviving victims, one of whom is a Mexican national, remain in critical condition. I should mention that the individual who died was one of the detainees. So we're just kind of waiting for all the speakers here to show up at this FBI press briefing. A big question that's become a little bit more clear over the last 24 hours, I would say, is a motive in this case. What inspired this individual, this 29-year-old suspect, Joshua John, to open fire on a vehicle carrying detainees from a rooftop nearby? The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are expected to release more details at this news conference today. FBI Director Kash Patel did release some new information about the suspected shooter this morning. He said that the FBI has been working around the clock to seize devices, exploit data, and process writings that were found on his person, at his home, and in his bedroom. This is John that we're talking about here. According to Patel, Joshua John downloaded a document titled Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, which contained a list of Department of Homeland Security facilities. He also conducted multiple searches of ballistics and the, quote, Charlie Kirk shot video between September 23rd and September 24th. That is so gruesome. We also know that he searched apps that tracked the presence of ICE agents between August 19th and August 24th. Well, we want to be clear here that the intended target, FBI agents do believe, were ICE agents and not the detainees. According to Patel, one of the handwritten notes that they recovered read, quote, hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof? Patel said other accumulated evidence to this point indicates a high degree of pre-attack planning, as we just mentioned. We're also hearing from the former U.S. Attorney for North Texas, Paul Coggins. He shared his thoughts on a handwritten note that John left behind. He says, quote, federal law enforcement, particularly the Department of Justice, needs to be focusing on international terrorism and domestic terrorism and to find out what motivates each of those different attacks on our country. And of the two, between international terrorism and domestic terrorism, the one that scares me more is of domestic terrorism. And so we have to start digging in what motivates these people, whether they are on the left, whether they are on the right, to take these kinds of actions. So additional security, again, is being stationed outside of the ICE facility in Dallas. Immigration check-ins at that facility are on hold, though, until Monday. Those check-ins are a regular part of ICE operations as a way to keep track of migrants in and around the North Texas area. The Department of Homeland Security is also increasing security at all ICE facilities across the country. So, again, the FBI is investigating Wednesday morning shooting at the Dallas ICE facility as a targeted act of violence. Officials said that a sniper on a roof nearby fired indiscriminately at the detention center, hitting 3 detainees who were arriving in a transport van. One of those detainees was killed and 2 others were critically injured. No law enforcement were hurt. Sources again identifying the shooter as 29-year-old Joshua John, who had ties to both North Texas and Oklahoma. Investigators say he did die of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as agents approached him. While a motive for this shooting has not been released, bullets found at the scene had anti-ICE messages written on them. So that is what we know so far about the situation that unfolded yesterday morning at that ICE detention facility in Dallas, Texas, where we know, again, one person, a detainee, died of their injuries. 2 others are in critical condition. And we also know that the suspected gunman here, Joshua John, who's 29 years old, turned the gun on himself. Okay, so let's take a listen in here as the FBI is set to take to the podium now in any minute. And I also want to mention that my colleague, Mary Stoker-Smith, is going to be taking over here as host of the Wisconsin Live Desk after, starting at 1:30, I should say. So thank you for having me on this Thursday. I'll see you next week.
Good afternoon. I'm Catherine Miller. I'm the acting PAO for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Texas, and we welcome you here this afternoon. At the podium today is Nancy Larson, the acting U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, and she's joined by Joseph Rothrock, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Dallas. With him is Marcos Charles, the Acting Executive Associate Director of ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations. We also have Josh Johnson, the Acting Field Office Director, ERO Operations, Dallas Field Office. Travis Pickard, Special Agent in charge of HSI, Dallas. And Benny Mims, Special Agent in charge of ATF, Dallas. At the back, I will be putting a sign-in sheet for all media. So please, before you leave, add your information so that we have that. And following the remarks, we will have a brief period for questions and answers. Please remember to identify yourself and your media affiliation when you ask a question. And with that, I'll turn it over to Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. This is the third time in my short 4-month tenure as the acting United States Attorney for this district where we have suffered violent attacks and threats at ICE facilities. First, you'll recall July 4th, 2024, the violent attack on the Prairieland facility in Alvarado, Texas. The second occurred on August 25th, 2024, when Bratton Dean Wilkinson, who stands charged by federal complaint, pretended to have a bomb. He showed up at the ICE facility with a backpack and something that looked like a detonator on his wrist and threatened the facility. Third, of course, is yesterday's attack, September 24th, 2025, when the Dallas ICE facility was riddled with gunfire, costing the life of one detainee and injuring 2 other detainees critically. Initially, I want to commend the cooperation of the Dallas Police Department, the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, the ATF, ICE, and HSI for their swift and decisive response to this crime. Members of these agencies quickly secured the scene and the evidence and worked tirelessly to determine any continuing threat. Due to their efforts, it did not take long to ascertain the identity of the shooter, who was deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and that he very likely acted alone. His name is Joshua Yan, 29, of Fairview, Texas. Let me just review a very brief summary of the timeline of yesterday's attack. We believe at some point around 3 o'clock in the morning that the suspect was seen driving on footage with a large ladder on his car. And we believe that that is what he used to position himself on top of the building. The shooting itself started at approximately 6:30 a.m. After the shooting started, Dallas Police Department arrived en masse, secured the scene. Law enforcement officers found the sniper dead. They found bullets on the rooftop, one of which was labeled with the words anti-ICE. That morning, gunshots sprayed the length of the building, the windows, and law enforcement vans that were in the Sallyport area. Detainees were struck by these bullets. One was killed, 2 were wounded, and both of them are undergoing treatment. Shortly thereafter, the FBI began its meticulous work at the crime scene. At the same time, we obtained and executed multiple search warrants yesterday for devices and locations associated with the sniper. FBI agents executed a search warrant at the sniper's residence yesterday, and there found a collection of notes. First, I want to point out that one of these notes or papers, the sniper explicitly states, "Yes, it was just me." That statement appears to be correct at this point in the investigation. Notably, these loose notes included a game plan of the attack and target areas at the facility. He called the ICE employees people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck. He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility. He hoped to minimize any collateral damage or injury to the detainees and any other innocent people. It seems that he did not intend to kill the detainees or harm them. It's clear from these notes that he was targeting ICE agents and ICE personnel. The tragic irony for his evil plot here is that it was a detainee who was killed and 2 other detainees that were injured when he fired into the Sallyport. He also hoped his actions would give ICE agents real terror of being gunned down, and he did this to induce constant stress in their lives. He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking. And this, what he did, is the very definition of terrorism. Again, his notes reveal, yes, it was just me and my brain. And he said, good luck with the digital footprint. And of course, we take this to mean that he deleted evidence from his devices. His words were definitively anti-ICE. That said, we did not find evidence of membership in any specific group or entity, nor did he mention any specific government agency other than ICE. Among his papers, though, was a handwritten note in which, in crude words, he expressed his hatred for the federal government. Finally, I want to address the heroism of our federal agents yesterday. While under fire, ICE agents and ATF agents who were also present in the facility's Sallyport area worked together to remove detainees from the vans and get them to safety while the bullets were flying. These agents were heroic, clearly willing to lay down their lives to save the lives of the detainees in their custody. And that's an extremely important point to make at this point in time. I want to express my deepest appreciation for the bravery of these law enforcement officers yesterday and every single day that they go out there to keep us safe. I'll now turn it over to FBI Special Agent in charge of the Dallas Field Office, Joe Rothrock. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to start by thanking our acting United States Attorney, Nancy Larson, and her office for their support during this investigation. My name is Joe Rothrock, and I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Dallas Field Office. Yesterday morning, Joshua Yan carried out a targeted ambush-style attack on law enforcement. Today, I will provide you with some updates of what we've learned through our investigation to date, to include Jan's own words in his handwritten notes. Jan specifically intended to kill ICE agents. He fired at transport vehicles carrying ICE personnel, federal agents, and detainees. He also fired multiple shots into the windows of the office building where numerous ICE employees do their jobs every day. We now know that Jan engaged in significant high degree of pre-attack planning. He searched for information about the office building and how to track ICE agents' locations. Jan also acknowledged the potential for other casualties. He knew with a high likelihood ICE detainees would be transported that morning in the exact location where he was facing from his perch on a nearby rooftop. Jan's attack did in fact result in the tragic death of one detainee and the injury to 2 other detainees. We have been able to confirm that Jan legally obtained an 8mm bolt-action rifle he used in the shooting in August of this year. Based on our investigation to date, we believe Jan acted alone, but I'll stress our investigation continues. This attack yet again underscores the dangers that law enforcement face daily. We continue to see an increased threats against law enforcement. This is the second attack in recent months on ICE facilities here in North Texas. I do want to take this opportunity to thank our law enforcement partners, some of whom are here with us today. When Jan began firing, agents from both ICE and the ATF put themselves in the line of fire to move individuals off the transportation vehicles in an attempt to protect and rescue those that were injured. I want to thank them for their bravery. The Dallas Police Department and the Dallas County Sheriff's Office also quickly responded to the scene without any hesitation and ran towards danger. Ultimately, they located the shooter, who was deceased by an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. I want to thank them for their prompt response and dedication to protecting and serving their communities. I also want to thank our partners that have assisted in this investigation. The Fairview Police Department, as well as our partners in Oklahoma, to include Bryant County Sheriff's Department, Durant Police Department, and Choctaw Nation Light Horse Police, as well as our personnel from San Antonio and Oklahoma City within the FBI that assisted. The FBI has dedicated its entire breadth of resources to ensure this investigation is completed thoroughly. The FBI stands with our law enforcement partners, and today we express that the attacks against law enforcement officers will not be tolerated. While we believe Jan acted alone, we are still asking that anyone with information about Jan or his activities report that to the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or at www.fbi.gov/Dallas ERO shooting. And with that, I will turn it over to Director Charles.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcos Charles. I am the ICE Executive Associate Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations. The attack on ICE's Dallas field office yesterday was tragic. And while our hearts and prayers are with the family of the detainees who were shot, the evidence is clear that this was intended as an assault on ICE personnel who come to work every day to do their job. Violent rhetoric has led to over 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers, and it has to stop. In contrast to those who would demonize our men and women, yesterday our brave officers ran back into danger, along with ATF, our partners, to save the detainees while shots were still being fired. Those ICE officers just showed the world who they really are. Law enforcement officers who want the best for our country. That's ICE, integrity, courage, excellence. They were willing to put their lives on the line to pull detainees out of the transport van to get them to safety. They are heroes, and I hope the media has the integrity to shine a light on this story. Enough is enough with the harmful lies and violent rhetoric. It has to stop. The shooter used the ICE tracking apps. Anyone who creates or distributes these apps that is designed to spot, track, and locate ICE officers are well aware of the dangers that they are exposing to law enforcement. It's a casting call to invite bad actors to attack law enforcement officers. It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas yesterday. The media has been amplifying these apps even as we warned them it would only lead to more attacks on law enforcement. We truly wish we didn't have to say, "I told you so," but here we are. ICE continues to prioritize the safety and security of our personnel, detained aliens, and facilities. We will do everything possible to increase security to counter the increased wave of these lethal attacks. Again, we call on those who foment violence and vilify our law enforcement officers to cease the dangerous rhetoric. We also call on law-abiding Americans everywhere to report any suspicious activity. The individual that was out there yesterday shooting at our agents and our officers was trying to take the lives of law enforcement people doing their job. Instead, he killed a detainee and shot 2 others. That is something that's unacceptable. The rhetoric that's out there on social media, the rhetoric that is being said by some community leaders in other states needs to stop. There's been an increase in violence against ICE agents, not only in Texas and Dallas, but across the country in violent protests. Again, I ask everybody, just stop. Thank you.
So we're going to open it up to questions now. So if you have a question, we'll direct it to the appropriate person. You're first up.
Sean Murphy with the Associated Press. Can you tell an estimate of how many shots were fired and how he was able to get those off so quickly with the bolt action play?
Yeah, so how I'll answer that at this point, again, I'll just remind you, this is an ongoing investigation. The ICE facility, the ICE office, really, it is a business office. This is where business is done on a daily basis by our partners at ICE. That is still an active crime scene. We still have personnel out there. As I mentioned earlier in my remarks, we brought in resources from San Antonio, Oklahoma City, obviously our own FBI resources here in Dallas, as well as folks from our lab, because we are going to do a thorough and exhaustive investigation and make sure that we have a full accounting of all the evidence that's at that scene. Again, those efforts are ongoing at this time. I'm going to go here real quick.
Thank you. Can you talk to us more about the detainees in the van? Were they transported to Alvarado, Texas, and what happened to them?
You're referring to the detainees that were not injured?
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you could give us an update on the ones that are injured, identities, nationalities.
So I won't be providing any updates at this time on the identities of the detainees that were injured. ICE has a process from notifications to consulate and to next of kin. That process is ongoing, and so we'll defer to our ICE counterparts at some point to determine when it's the right time to release that information. The other detainees remain safe. They are victims as well of this violent crime, and they are people that we are actively interviewing as part of our investigation. Right here to the front.
Matt Caldwell, Morning News. Ms. Larson had referenced anti-government, anti-federal government statements that Mr. Yan had made. Is there any more information y'all can release about what exactly was in those writings?
The clearest motivation for this attack are his own words. In his handwritten notes, he says, "I want to cause terror." He doesn't want to just impact the ICE agents and the law enforcement agents that were carrying out that mission yesterday. He wants to impact ICE agents and law enforcement across the country. Again, his words, cause terror for those employees across the country. Look over here.
Shannon Miller with NBC DFW. Any indication how long the suspect had been planning this attack?
Well, this is, again, as I referenced in my remarks, this is significant pre-planning months in advance. We know that he obtained the firearm in August. We also know that he was looking at a number of DHS facilities, and he had downloaded that information. He was looking at the apps, as my counterpart mentioned, to see where ICE agents would be. So this was not something that just occurred yesterday. It came to a conclusion yesterday, but this is something months in the making.
Priscilla Thompson with NBC Network News. From what we have heard, this person was not particularly political. Was there anything that you all have found in terms of an inciting incident that led him to commit this attack?
Unfortunately, the challenge with these mass casualty incidents is people can be motivated to violence by any number of grievances. In this case, the clearest indication of motivation are his own words. He wanted to cause terror. He wanted to harm ICE personnel. Ma'am.
The deceased shooter
Did he have a relation with somebody who had been detained by ICE or mistreated by ICE for him to act this way?
Again, the clearest motivations at this point are the harm he wanted to cause to ICE. We're not aware of any specific relationships he had with anybody in detention. But again, our investigation's ongoing. We're going to unturn every stone here. And so that continues. Sir.
Omar Villafranca with CBS News. Secretary Noem has asked for increased security at ICE facilities across the country. Can you say what is going to be done to harden these facilities to protect agents and detainees?
So I cannot say what will be done by our partners at DHS to harden their facilities. What I can say, and I can draw upon just our recent experiences here in North Texas, is we've seen attacks now, 2 ambush-style attacks, where law enforcement was the target of individuals who did significant pre-planning and coordination to set up law enforcement, again, in an ambush-style attack.
But anything that they physically are going to do for these facilities, since they're still operating, to protect them? There's still no barrier up or anything like that at this facility.
I would need to refer to my partners from ICE from that.
Yeah, so currently, we're looking at hardening some of our facilities. Also, I don't want to give away any operational security as to how we're going to be doing that.
But
there are plans to harden some of our facilities. Back there.
Robbie Owens, CBS News, Texas. Were the Young family immigrants?
Mr. Yan was not an immigrant. He was a United States citizen. He was here legally. I won't be going into the details on anybody other than Mr. Yan at this time. Ma'am.
You talked a little bit about the ICE agents, or the agents that were there at the location that helped him once shots were beginning to fire. Can you give us some more perspective on what the situation was with the detainees that were in the vans? Were they handcuffed? Were they shackled? Why weren't they able to get out of the vehicle by themselves?
Again, these were individuals that were detained by law enforcement. There were multiple transport vehicles at the facility at that time. Again, what I would stress at this point is under gunfire, multiple federal agents ran into that fire to remove these individuals and to attempt to render life-saving aid under the most dire circumstances.
Just for clarity, they were restrained.
They were being, the individuals in the vans were being strained. It's a proper procedure for transport. The individuals that are brave men and women that went out there to go help and rescue were the ones that were injured and could not leave the van on their own.
And we know that that's common because we've seen obviously transports before. So we just wanted clarity to understand why they weren't able to leave on their own.
The other individuals that were in the van were able to leave on their own. It was the ones that were injured were unable to exit the vehicle. Sir, you, yeah.
Have you guys gotten any cooperation from the suspect's family and this idea that the anti-government, federal government attitude were there? Have any family members expressed any signs that we knew that this was happening, or was this just all kept?
Back to you, sir.
As is common in these investigations of mass casualty incidents, we are going to interview everybody we can identify that might have information about the motivations or who might have information about the pre-planning or who may have assisted in this attack. I won't be outlining every interview we conducted today, but we will be doing a thorough investigation. And again, one of the reasons we asked for additional information for the public is if there are those out there that had contact with Jan, we would like to hear from them, and we would like to gain an understanding of what their relationship was. I won't be going into details about other aspects of the investigation.
Luke Larry on WFAA. Can you expand on why you believe that he acted alone here, and can you go into it all, any activity he may have had in online forums or communities that may have influenced his action?
So again, the totality of our investigation includes interviews, canvassing areas, collecting surveillance video. We're certainly looking at his digital footprint online as well as digital devices. I'm not going to outline the details from every one of those. Again, his own words called out that he committed this act alone, and all the evidence we have to date would indicate that that's accurate.
Alex with FOX6 News. You mentioned that the ICE facility, I believe, is still an active crime scene. Can you talk about what will happen in the coming days with that facility? Are there detainees being held there? Have they all been taken away? Is it operational as an office?
It is going to remain an active crime scene for some time. Again, we will be there as long as it takes to make sure that we've captured every piece of physical evidence.
Emma Ruby with the Dallas Observer. You mentioned the one bullet that was found with kind of ideological writing on it. Have any of the bullets found around the scene had any writing on them, or is it just the one?
Again, active crime scene, we're still collecting physical evidence.
Jim Schulz with ABC News. Around the crime scene, when this car was actually being towed, there was some writings on that vehicle. Can you give us a sense about what those were and how they play into your investigation?
So the vehicle was searched as part of our investigation. I don't have additional details to share with you now about any writings, but certainly if we have updates, we'll provide those in the future. Ma'am.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. You have been listening to the latest update from FBI officials on that deadly ICE facility shooting there in Dallas. Just to recap what we've been hearing, the shooting that happened left one person dead, including the gunman, 2 others injured. The gunman did die from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and authorities have identified the shooter as 29-year-old Joshua Yan. Showed a high degree of pre-planning on this. We are told that at this point it looked as though he wanted to carry out what they are classifying as an act of terrorism and send a message to ICE agents during this. He also alluded to the fact officials did that the suspect who is now dead, said, when this is all over, you're going to find very little information because I have erased all of the digital footprints, etc. What I thought was interesting about that is usually the FBI, the CIA, forensic investigators, if you will, sometimes have a way to undo what has been deleted. And so it will be interesting to find out exactly what amount or how much pre-planning went into this. In other words, I asked a question yesterday of one of our reporters on scene there, one of our multimedia journalists, was there any way this could have been prevented? Oftentimes, as you know, agents are looking at social media posts, looking for any red flags, but you always think, there's always a sense that there was some degree of internet searching or something that could have been, you know, kind of a red flag, or perhaps somebody that he knew that this could have been a red flag that, hey, this guy is going to carry out a shooting here. They have been crystal clear to say that this gunman, Joshua Young, acted alone, and that he did do a lot of pre-planning there, including scouting the facilities there in Dallas and looking for what they are saying, any ways that he could be successful, and then also he wrote threats as well. So there are 2 right now that are injured, and we are keeping an eye on that. Their identities have not been released at this point, but again, we'll continue to watch that and find out anything else that we can glean from this. But again, just a very, very tragic situation there. We are getting the updates coming in all the time, of course, from FBI agents there as they just wrapped up or are wrapping up that press conference there in Dallas, Texas. So it looks as though they're leaving the podium. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We'll bring you updates right here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as soon as we can get to them. We're going to take a quick commercial break and regroup because we do want to talk about some things going on locally here in southeastern Wisconsin and the Milwaukee area. And we also have a very special guest that I'm excited to introduce you to. And he's going to be telling us about something that a lot of you can relate to. The school bell has rung. Kids are in class. How do we set them up for success now that we've got this initial kind of couple of weeks, now that we've kind of maybe ironed out some of the kinks and they're starting to really get into a routine? We want to make sure they keep that going all year long, and of course, particularly now that the semester is, for some even, you know, well into 4 weeks. But we're going to talk about school success and success in the classroom, what you can do as parents at home to really set your student up to have the best school year possible. We're excited for that, guest. We're going to take a quick break, but keep it right here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Excited to be with you this Thursday afternoon. We'll be right back.
agree. Okay. Sure. I'm the Director of Education and Training. Yeah, thanks. Correct. Yes. Perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mary Stoker-Smith coming here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm so happy to be with you this beautiful Thursday afternoon. You know, it's lovely. Right now, I think so many of us here in southeastern Wisconsin are thinking, it's summer. What do you mean kids are back in class, right? With this beautiful stretch of weather that we have here in this late fall afternoon in September. It's just lovely out. But we do want to talk about kids back in the classroom today. When we were preparing, when I knew I was going to be with you today, and again, happy to be so, I thought, I looked at some interesting articles, and this one really caught my eye because I thought for a lot of parents, it's got to be daunting because you've really started the routine. The teachers have been introduced. Your kids are knowing their class structure and schedule. But to maintain that's got to be kind of hard after the, forgive the term here, the first couple day buzz wears off, right? So now it's kind of like, what can we do to keep things going, particularly if your student is saying, I'm having some trouble in this class. I thought we were prepared. You know, it's kind of this at this point where you want to get the kinks out, because if you get too far down the line into the school year, into the semester, and you fall behind, it is so hard to catch up. Trust me, as a student who struggled with things like algebra, you want to get at it right away. So I'm excited to bring in our guest here. I think we are all ready to go. Over the moon to have you joining us. Hi there, Bill. Glad to have you with us here on this Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hi, Mary. Great to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Bill, I want to introduce you properly. Bill Marsland, and you are the Director of Education and Training with Code Ninja. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Go Ninjas is we're like an independently owned franchise-based company where kids come to our centers, and we do have some in the Milwaukee area, and they learn about coding and digital life skills, and they get to learn about AI and some really cool things that are important because it's all part of problem solving and being creative and having those opportunities to build really cool things with technology.
You know, it sounds like that, and especially right now, you know, in this digital age, I mean, I think for a lot of parents it can be daunting because, you know, even me, I came from the book age where you had the paper bag, the brown paper bag over your book so that you didn't destroy it by the end of the year. Now everything is digital, and a lot of parents can find that daunting to try to step in, help their child navigate through that. What would you do to those parents who maybe are computer savvy, but probably nowhere near the kids because they're kind of next level, right?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I absolutely remember covering my books in paper bags too, and we've come so far from that. But there are still just some like core essential things to think about with education, whether it was based in a book or whether it's in technology. And that really is to just slow down that learning process and really just focus on like, what did the kid learn today? Like ask your child, like, what did you learn? What's a challenge you solved today? these things are still present in our education, are still such an important part of it. So yeah, whether it's analog or digital, it's still so important to connect with kids and ask them, like, who did you help when you were working through something today? What's a challenge that you still haven't solved yet that you want to continue working towards?
You know, and that you make such a good point. It sounds like what you're saying is consistently check in, make a check in, maybe, a habit. You don't ask the same question every day, but, tell me one thing that went really well today, maybe something that you found challenging or you were able to overcome. Is that kind of the way that we should approach this, do you think?
Absolutely. We always like to think, like, focus less on just that rapid progress. Don't be thinking, did you complete that chapter? Did you complete that next thing? But instead focus on those tangible things, like what's something really cool you created today? And actually, I always feel that kids are going to be more excited to answer those questions than just that open-ended, like, how was school? Tell me about your day. But yeah, ask them those questions about what is something that got you really excited about something you did in school today.
It's funny because we're saying, kind of assuming a lot of the kids know about electronics, computers, but maybe not. Some people may be struggling with that, some of the students. Why is it so important for students to be at a high level or even really take in this digital literacy, as you call it?
Digital literacy is shaping everything that we do. I've been in the classroom for quite a while, and it's been cool to see just the impacts of digital literacy on how it's changing the way that kids are creating and consuming content. Technology has really changed that, but it's still so important that kids understand that they have that power to use those tools to their capabilities and to use those tools to help them be better students, to help them be better creators, to even help them explore different hobbies and other things that are important and interesting to them. Plus, these tools are going to be essential for them to use in whatever career field they go into. Sometimes people think like, oh, I only need to learn technology if I want to go into the math and science field. But truly, every career field is being impacted by technology, by computer science, even by AI. So it's so important that kids are learning to experience these tools and to gain some comfort with them as when they're younger and they're developing these skills, so that way they'll be able to carry them forward with them into adulthood.
Well, clearly, and provide a little insight, if you will, perhaps a little advice on how to balance that digital screen time, which is so important, particularly as they look at jobs down the line, and the push to limit the screen time. I mean, we hear from the experts all the time that kids are spending really kind of an imbalanced amount of time, an inordinate amount of time on the screens, and they need to put them down. So how do is there kind of a measure that there should be a cutoff in terms of, 8 o'clock, I'm just saying, or an hour, you've been on there for 2 hours, or give us like a real tangible parameter for parents to say, okay, you've been on the screen, enough.
Absolutely. Screen time is such an important conversation for parents to be having with their kids. It's even an important conversation for parents to be having with themselves, thinking about the screen time that they're modeling with their kids. Are they always on their phones too? Are they always on their tablets? But the really essential thing that I like to think about as an educator, now again, like a pediatrician might have a different take on the appropriate levels for screen time based on a child's growth and development. But as an educator, we think of screen time not so much as, or more around the idea of, are you actively using the technology or are you passively using the technology? It's really fun, and we all fall in the habit of just scrolling on our phone, and time can be really consumed that way. And that's not always the most positive use of time, and you're maybe not really gaining much from it. But when you're using a screen, but you're doing something constructive, you're building something, you're creating something, you're doing something that's actively engaging you in thinking and problem solving, and just having these opportunities to be creative, that type of screen time is okay. There really doesn't need to be as strict of a limit on that type of screen time, as long as it's that productive, you're creating, you're doing something that's improving your own skills as a human. Like, that screen time is totally okay. So yeah, it's when you just find yourself like passively scrolling on your phone or not really thinking about what you're doing and just watching videos. That's the type of screen time that absolutely needs to be limited for kids and for adults.
Yeah, we did a story recently on just kind of putting away the phone, say at dinner, or having a time, an allocated time to connect where the phones go in a box or in a drawer or they're off limits for at least a little one-on-one time. And you know, parents shouldn't feel bad about that according to the health experts that we've been talking to. So there certainly is a way to balance it, and that's wonderful. I have to ask you, one of the questions that we had written down was, what are some of the common mistakes parents are making that hinder their child's success? Really important there, because you may think you're doing the right thing, but not necessarily. What is your research found, Bill?
Yeah, so one thing we've been thinking a lot about recently is there's so many wonderful online learning tools. And of course, those tools are going to track progress over time and provide a report for parents. I mean, there's even tools that I use. I like to use Duolingo myself sometimes, and it sends me that regular weekly report telling me what my progress is. One pitfall that can come from that is sometimes we overly focus on just that rapid progress, especially with kids. We really have to make sure that we aren't too focused on that rapid progress instead of some of the deeper learning that needs to happen that takes time. Too often, especially in 2025, everything is like such a rush. Everyone wants to move really quickly. Unfortunately, learning takes time, and we do have to devote that time to it. And so when we get this really cool data and these metrics that let us know, how much we've learned, sometimes we're looking at just the amount instead of the quality. And so it may have looked like a kid has covered a lot of content, but truly, have they gone deep? Have they had the time to really play with those ideas and understand them at a deeper level? And so that's probably my biggest recommendation to parents is to take that pause, take that moment to think about, like, did my child actually understand this content? Sure, it looks like they got through a lot of stuff, but do they understand it? Can they create with it? Can they then explain it to someone else? Could they teach it to someone? So I think those are some of the important things that we lose sight of when we focus too much on just seeing, how far we can fill that progress meter.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more questions. One of those is having a good relationship with the teacher. How important do you think it is? I mean, you don't want to burden, of course, and become, a parent who shows up every day, of course, but, how important is it for the parents to connect with the teachers to say, tell me what's really going on unfiltered in the classroom? It seems like that's a really important tool.
Yeah, it's such an important tool. And again, there's so many ways that teachers can communicate with the parents and with students. And a lot of these are digital, and a lot of them, end up being sort of like a metric of, they completed 5 out of 7 assignments or 5 out of 7 activities. And that's the metric you're seeing. But that doesn't give you that holistic picture of what the child is doing. And, that doesn't show that the child worked really hard on a project that they were super excited about. Like, that doesn't get conveyed in some of these digital metrics that get sent out, or some of the automated emails that get sent out from these tools that teachers are using. There's so much power in those tools, and it's so great to have that one side of the parent communication. But it really is important that parents are asking teachers, like, yeah, what is something you saw spark an excitement in my child? What is something that my child worked really hard, or even what is something my child struggled with, and you watch them puzzle through it and use problem-solving skills and actually figure out the answer on their own? Because those are the things that unfortunately get overlooked, and that's the power in learning. Those are the things that are so important and really set kids up for future success.
Absolutely. And last question, you touch on that. There are so many things now available to kids, between the sports, the instruments, the outside extracurricular activities. We talk about back in the day, you had like one thing maybe that you did. Maybe you did one sport, or you did theater, or you did band, and now it seems like there are so many things coming at kids. A lot of them probably want to try that, or maybe they're afraid to try. What advice do you give parents to just say, okay, let's find some balance. We want to celebrate what kids are interested in. We want to expose them to maybe things that they find a little daunting, but they also need to get their classwork done. So what do you say to parents who are probably overwhelmed with the majority of, are so many decisions there that they have to make about extracurriculars?
You said it perfectly when you use the word exposure. I think exposure is so important. Let your child experience a whole wide range of different things. I work at Code Ninjas, and so I think that coding is really important for kids to experience. And that's definitely not something that was around when I was a kid. That's not something many parents probably had when they were a kid. But yeah, like let your child have exposure to all the different activities that are available. And then pick like one or two. The kid doesn't have to do everything to be successful. And I also like to think like there's things that happen in seasons, sort of like sports happen in seasons. You might, introduce coding during one time of the year, but it's not something that lasts all year. Music might be something that a kid explores for a part of the year and then, transitions to something else. But finding that balance is important, but also I think like letting kids just explore and play and see all the cool things that are available. Because to your point, it is really nice that kids now do have such wide range of activities that they can access.
Yeah, I've heard everybody should know how to code. It's a skill that really
Yeah.
transcends to almost everything that you're going into. Bill Marsland there, we really, really appreciate you being with us there. Director of Education and Training at Code Ninja. It just sounds neat. And you said that there are some in the Milwaukee area, correct? How can people
That is
find
correct,
you?
yeah.
How can people find you?
Sure. You can access codeninjas.com, and the website will have a location finder, and you'll be able to find your local Code Ninjas. And from there, you'll be able to see all the different programs and offerings that are available from our Create program, where that's a weekly program. We have camps, we have clubs, we have all different types of workshops and academies. So there's something that can fit lots of different needs and goes even beyond coding to just in general digital skills and technology. So anyone who has that interest should check out codeninjas.com.
I may have to audit a class or come on in. Back to school. All right, you make it sound exciting. We really appreciate you being here. Sage advice there. Really appreciate it. Bill, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
You
Nice
bet.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Oh, there you have it. So many things, so many options for kids these days to really get on track. The coding thing is really neat. I know you parents at home are thinking, wow, we never even had that available. But, no matter what you're doing and no matter what field you go into in this day and age, that digital literacy, as we mentioned, is so very important. So there are skills out there, there are tools out there to provide insight, incentive, and maybe even for parents to pick up some of that stuff. But I love what he said about the balance and really getting kids interested. And it's kind of like, eating vegetables. I remember it was like, I think my parents were like, just try one vegetable, a new one that maybe you didn't like. Some of it stuck, some of it didn't. Rutabaga. I'm still trying to get my arms around rutabaga, but that was one of our staples, particularly at Thanksgiving. Another topic for another day. Closer to Thanksgiving, we'll talk about rutabaga. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. We regroup. We have a lot of local stories we're covering tonight coming up on Fox 6 at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, and I'm going to bring you up to speed on those. And we're also going to take a peek outside of the window, because if you're itching to get out, well, you are in store for a treat, according to our chief meteorologist here and weather experts. It's going to be real delightful. We'll tell you how delightful it is when we come back on the other side of the break. Stay with us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Mary Stoker-Smith coming at you from the Wisconsin Live Desk this gorgeous Thursday afternoon. It is 2:22, and the weather doesn't get any better than this. We woke up to some cloud cover earlier today, a little bit cool at night, had the window open. I don't know about you, but slept real well. But we have just gotten off to a glorious, glorious start. It's hard to believe it is late September. Before I got a side note here, I got to tell you something personal before we get on with some more news. So my husband says, you know, it is apple season. I'm like, it is? It feels like midsummer. And so he brought home Honeycrisp apples from the store. So when I got home late last night, you know, I'm a second shifter here. I work 2 to about 11:30. Got home at midnight and I bit into this Honeycrisp apple and I had a moment. Best things ever. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you, whether you're going to an apple orchard or just picking some apples from one of our great local growers or picking up some Honeycrisp, you are in for a treat. I had to share my joy. It was fantastic. Let's give you a look outside right now because this is the place to be. You're looking at American Family Field where the Brewers are back in town tomorrow night, and the boys of summer are keeping it going. The Brewers are going to take on the Reds, and like the temperatures right now, they are hot, hot, hot. As we look around the roadways, you know, Thursday afternoons can get a little tricky, especially on nice days. If you are headed downtown, if you're headed out and about, maybe grab some dinner al fresco tonight. It looks as though the roads are open at this point. Hopefully stay that way, but it is going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous night. According to our weather experts, a great time to get out and take in some of those leaves that are just starting to turn. I've seen like, I would say a quarter. Some of the trees that I've seen around our area, quarter turned, but a lot of them still green. We are hearing that it's going to be a little later right now. Our leaf peeping season is going to be a little later. It's going to be sometime in October. It's going to be a quick one this year. But right now, I think we're all enjoying those temperatures right now, especially for the Brewers. Knocking on the door of Brewers history. This is the X that just went out. I always want to say Twitter. Now X, of course. It just went out there from the Milwaukee Brewers. Just really, really nice. Knocking on the door of Brewers history right now. We are on fire right now. Doing so well. And so we want to just look at the, let's go back to American Family Field right now because again, we announced that, well actually, you know what we're going to do? Go in there and then I'm going to bring in Delaney, our delightful producer. And let me go to that right now. Delaney, Delaney's always ready. I mean, it's kind of, there we go. Hi, my friend.
Hey, Mary.
We're talking about Brewers Fever, and so we talked about now the playoff tickets, and the dates have been announced. We don't yet know the times, and we don't yet know the opponents, but it's just created such a buzz in Milwaukee. We kind of started, strong. We had some sluggish moments, and can you believe that we are the talk of MLB?
I know, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to go to playoff games?
Well, some of them coincide with my work schedule, so I'm going to have to see. And I was worried that, let's be honest, sometimes the prices can get a little funky. But we looked yesterday, and it looks like they're really affordable. You may not get, obviously, first base seats, but if you want to, be in a little bit of a budget, there's still some really good seats available. So it sounds like an affordable deal, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. Sounds like a lot of fun, too.
Yeah. We talked about some of the foods that they are unveiling, too, for just the playoff games, and some of those look delightful, as well as the little pancakes that obviously Pat Murphy talked about. I don't know if we can get those up. Look at Delaney. Like, she's got this on lock. I didn't tell her I was going to ask about this or bring it up, and here she's got this graphic ready. Okay. This is one of the things on the postseason menu. There's several of them, but this is the one that caught my eye. Murph's Pocket Pancakes. And so it comes, as you see there, with a side of syrup. But can you imagine grabbing that, taking that back to your seat, and I'm just assuming that you could just eat those right out of the bag. I'm sure they'll have utensils, but I just want to eat it out of the bag, dunk it in the syrup, and then I want a cold glass of milk. This is what I don't know. DM me if you know, and maybe I'll put out a tweet to the Brewers. Can you get milk at the ballpark, at the ball yard, as Ted would say? I love me a cold glass of 2% milk. Doesn't matter what kind it is, but we got to have milk with our pancakes. That looks great. Delaney, can you pull up any other of the wonderful eats? Yeah, this one I thought looked pretty good. The Tipsy Polish. This is Johnsonville sausage. It's the brat kind of cut up there, and it's got, if I'm not mistaken, the little seasoning on top there. I'm gonna come to it, whatever that is, with the little crumbles, and then it's surrounded by the fries. And speaking of Ted, this is his favorite. He says it's messy, but it's worth it. But here's the thing: when you're at the ballpark, no judgment. Delaney, let's do one more of a delectable postseason menu item right there. This is the other one, the tamales. You can get chicken for people who don't eat the meat, and I believe the other one was a meat-based, perhaps a pork, and the tamales look delicious with that side of salsa. Come on, Campali tamales. I'm going to the ballpark just to get the food. I mean, who cares about anything else, right, Delaney? That's
right, the food's the best part.
The food is the best part, yeah. That looks fantastic. So it was just good to see you and good to see everybody there. So again, the Brewers are tomorrow night again, and then I believe they said, Delaney, you said they play again on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, they play again on Saturday.
Okay. And there we go. Yep, there's the graphic. And this is going to be on Fox 6. Our party is going to start at 6 o'clock. And of course, we're going to have news going on here on Fox Local as well for those that you want to dip into Fox Local. You can do both. Just use your Fox Local streaming app. Watch us. Put us on one side of the couch while you have your pad or your TV on. And just make it a double-double here on Fox 6. We're going to keep the party going for you. It is such an exciting time, and we are so glad that you're with us to experience all this. We're going to keep following the Brewers all the way through the World Series because we have high hopes for the boys of summer and, of course, the entire Brew crew. It's just been such a fun time, especially getting to know Skipper Murphy. I've really enjoyed getting to know his personality and some of the players and all of the fun and the festive things that come with it. And, of course, the merch. That swag out there. You got to grab some of those beautiful Brewer shirts. They go like that, so get your hands on that. In for a beautiful stretch of weather. Get out and enjoy, but remember to check in with us. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you here today on Fox Local. I'm Mary Stoker-Smith. I'm going to sign off for now, but we'll see you tonight at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10.